What's up everybody, this is Vando and you're watching Deadlock School, a channel dedicated to helping you master the game of Deadlock. And welcome to the channel's first hero guide. With Halloween coming up this week, I figured it would be the perfect time to introduce you to my favorite build for Infernus, the Dot God. You can find the build in-game if you search for Dot God or Deadlock School in the public tab of the Browse Build section, and the build is based around building up your attack speed so you can quickly apply your afterburn and lots of debuffs that you're going to get from items. I'll start out by going over the skill order real quick. So the first two skills you always want to take are going to be Flame Dash and Afterburn, and the order you take them in is really up to you. I typically will go Flame Dash if I'm in a duo lane, just because I think it's easier to use if I have somebody to cover me, or if I have another hero laning next to me that has an early stun. And then I'll go Afterburn in a solo lane, just because I feel like it's better harass if you're in a solo lane. It's just kind of easier to apply the dot because you're not getting shot at by two people. So I'll go for these as my first two skills. Of course, I'll go for my catalyst as soon as it becomes available, but the first one I really want to upgrade is Flame Dash. So I want to get Flame Dash up to level 2 as fast as I can for the 45 damage per second. So that's going to bump it up to 85 total DPS. Just makes it very deadly in the laning phase. The next thing I'm going to do is get 1 point in Concussive Combustion, just so I can get the cooldown to a manageable level. Otherwise, you're going to have 2 minutes on the cooldown. It just takes a long time to cool down. And then I'm going to start upgrading my Afterburn. Now, you can make an argument to go 1 point into Catalyst if you want 2 charges. Usually, I'm fine to just play with 1 charge for the beginning of the game. So what I'll typically do is go Afterburn, and I'll just max this all the way out to the 3rd level. Because by the time you get this to the 3rd level, this is when you're going to have some attack speed, and you're going to be looking to apply this as often as you can. So I'll go ahead and put that up to level 3. Then I'm going to max the Catalyst next. So you want to max Catalyst so that you can get that extra 20% amp damage. So that's going to put it up to 40%. And then also the minus 40 healing reduction. So that's a really important skill to get maxed out. And then once I get to this point, I'm probably just going to go ahead and finish maxing out Combustion. So you could go for the Flame Dash if you want the cooldown reduction. I don't really have a problem using it at 40 seconds. It's a little bit easier to farm with if you take the cooldown reduction on the last point, but asking 5 points for it is just really expensive. So I'll typically go for the Combustion to just get the lifesteal on that, because that's a really big benefit when you rush in with Combustion. And then the last skill would be Flame Dash there. So that's the skill order. Now we'll get into the items. So we're going to start out with the early game core, and I'm going to hover the cards so you can read what each item does. I'm not going to go over each individual stat. I'm just going to kind of talk about why I buy these items and what makes them important to Infernus. So the first one here is Ammo Scavenger. I'm going to buy this one. I always buy this one first because Infernus has a very small clip for his gun. It's only about 30 shots to start out, and it's really, they do pretty pathetic damage. So it's really easy to burn through your whole mag really fast. So I want to get Ammo Scavenger to get as many bullets as I can early. And then also it just gives you an absolute ton of spirit damage. I think you get the most bang for your buck on this item than literally any other 500 soul item. I think it's maybe one of the most overpowered items in the entire game. So I always start with Ammo Scavenger on Infernus. And then the next item I'm going to buy is based on how the lane is going. So if I'm even or if I'm losing, I'm going to go for extra regen. If I'm winning, I'm going to go for monster rounds. So and that's because monster rounds is going to help you be able to push through the troopers and through the guardian even faster and try to snowball that win. So regen, I like this over the other early game regen items. So I always buy extra regen instead of extra health or instead of healing right, because I want that 10% ammo. So like I said, I'm going to try to build as many ammo items as I can early. So I'll get extra regen. And then monster rounds, the reason I want this one specifically is for the bullet resistance versus NPCs. So with Infernus, a lot of your early game harassment is going to be through flame dashing into the enemy. So you want to get them under the bridge, out of position, flame dash through them and all their troopers. But when you do that, all the troopers are going to turn and start shooting at you. So monster rounds is super important to the early game so that when you flame dash, you don't just get absolutely shredded under the bridge. So I always buy that one. And then I go for Infuser next. So Infuser is going to give me more ammo, 10% more ammo. It gives it a huge chunk of spirit power whenever you activate it. So 20 total spirit power when you have it activated. and then a big chunk of spirit lifesteal as well. So this one, I always bind it to my mouse wheel up. You can see my button set here. I have mouse wheel up. That way I always remember to use it. That's a little tip. I always use my two most common active items on mouse wheel up and mouse wheel down. But Infuser, the cooldown is 37 seconds. The cooldown on your flame dash is 40 seconds. So you want to use Infuser every single time you flame dash. And this way, when you flame dash into the enemy, you're going to get the resistance from all the troopers, and you're going to get the life steal off of the troopers and off of the enemy heroes. So this way you can flame dash in and come out almost full life instead of getting absolutely dominated under the bridge when you try to flame dash. Okay, and then the last one is sprint boots. Self-explanatory on that one. And then the next category here is a pick one. So this is just based on how many souls you have. You want to pick one from each side. So the goal of this build is to apply your dots as fast and as reliably as you can. So a lot of the items or at least a couple items I'm going to build here are based around attack speed. So you want to go with either rapid rounds. It's going to give you a small bump to attack speed and a sprint. And then you got Swift Striker, which gives you a much better attack rate boost and 10% more ammo. So this one does have a negative. You get -5 bullet resist, so you do have to pay, the price on this one. But that's because this is an absolutely incredible item. So for $12.50, you get some of the best fire rate, bonus that you can. That's just going to always be on. There's no active. You just always get 22% fire rate there. So I usually will try to save up for this one. If I'm absolutely broke, I'll go for the rapid rounds, but I usually try to do my best to get the Swift Striker. And then the next two, you got Enduring Spirit and Spirit Lifesteal. Enduring Spirit gives you 10% Spirit Lifesteal, and Spirit Lifesteal gives you 23% Spirit Lifesteal. So this one, if you end up going for the Enduring Spirit, that's okay, because you're going to get big Lifesteal from Infuser, and you're going to get big Lifesteal from the next item we're going to look at. So if it's between getting Swift Striker and Enduring Spirit, that's fine to do. I would rather do this than the other way around of rapid rounds and Spirit Lifesteal. I think it's better to do it this way. If you can afford the Spirit Lifesteal though, then go ahead and go for it. Okay, and then the next item here is Soul Shredder Bullets. So after Infuser, this is the next core item for Infernus. You should build this in every single Infernus game, no matter what. This is going to give you a Spirit Amp and Spirit Lifesteal anytime you do Spirit damage. So that 20% Spirit Lifesteal is a huge chunk. And I was actually looking at a post on Reddit earlier this week that said it does not go into the multiplicative bucket. So you get better Spirit Lifesteal from this item than you do from stacking the other Spirit Lifesteal items. And I'm not sure if that applies to Infuser or not, but they were saying that it does apply to Soul Shredder Bullets. So between this and Infuser, and then whether you get Enduring Spirit or Spirit Lifesteal, your Lifesteal is going to be fully online at this point. And anytime you get in a fight, if you flame dash or if you hit them with the dot, you're just going to, lifesteal an absolute ton of health. Okay, so that's the core there is Infuser and, Soul Shredder Bullets. That's the main core early in the game. All right, next item is Quicksilver Reload. I always put my Quicksilver Reload on Catalyst. So the idea there is that you drain your clip to apply the dot, hit them with your Catalyst for the amp and the movement slow, and then reload your gun to keep attacking, and hopefully between your two clips you can kill them. All right, and then the next one is Enduring Speed. That's pretty self-explanatory there. That's just usually this is about the time of game where it's good to build this one so you can make your rotations, whether that's to gank or whether that's to clean up some creep camps. Okay, now the core of the build here is going to be Toxic Bullets and Leech. So you want to get to these pretty much as fast as you can. Typically it's easy to buy Toxic Bullets next. Leech is a little bit more expensive, so you might not necessarily buy Leech right after Toxic Bullets. You might buy some of these items underneath it first. Just kind of use your head and feel the game out. But these are the two most important items to get your core completed. So the first one there is Toxic Bullets. That's going to apply Spirit Damage Bleed for 5% of their total life. So the idea there is when you use you got the rapid rounds or the Swift Striker to do faster shots, and then that way you can get your 10 shots really quick to build up and apply your Toxic Bullets and your Afterburn. And that's kind of how you play Infernus, is try to get that dot on as often as you can. So that's my next item. And then Leech, of course, is going to give you massive Spirit Lifesteal, and it's also going to give you bullet lifesteal and then some health, cooldown reduction, and weapon damage. So this really just kind of boosts every part of Infernus's kit. This is probably the most synergistic item in the entire game for Infernus. So once you get these items online, this is your complete core. So once you get Leech, Toxic Bullets, and Leech, you're going to be very threatening. The next items you want to build are, I have them separated into two categories. So these are just build whenever you have spare souls. We got the 1250 items and the 3000 items. It does not matter what order you build these items in. They're not in a left to right order or anything like that. This is just when you feel it's appropriate to build these items. So the 1250 items, you got Healing Booster. The main reason you're building this is for the resistance to healing reduction. So anyone who knows how to play this game is going to build healing reduction against Infernus. So you want to get this item online. You don't have to do it really quick because most people are not going to be able to afford the healing reduction very early, but you do want to get it towards the middle of the game so that you get that resistance to the healing reduction. Spirit Armor, self-explanatory there. You just want to build that as appropriate based on how many enemies have big spirit damage. You got your Mystic Vulnerability. This is just kind of a nice to have item. So if you build this one last, that's totally fine. But this one is going to apply a negative spirit resist, so minus 12 spirit resist every time that they take spirit damage. So it just synergizes really well with your Afterburn Dot or your Toxic Bullets. And then we got Suppressor. So Suppressor is a really good item for Infernus because it is going to apply a fire rate slow on your dot. So anytime you tick for spirit damage, they're going to get minus 25% fire rate slow, and that's going to build into Mystic Slow, which is I don't know if I would call it core for Infernus, but this is probably the most important nice to have item. This is going to pump that fire rate slow up to minus 40%. And it's also going to apply a minus 25% movement slow. So, you're going to be looking to hit them with the dot, and it's going to trigger this. They're going to have a really hard time fighting against you. So this just makes Infernus an absolute one-on-one demon once you get Mystic Slow online. The next one I will look at is Fortitude. Fortitude is kind of like a secret sauce item for Infernus. I don't see a lot of people recommending this one, but this is going to give a huge chunk of life. And then whenever you have full health or over 75% health, you get a big weapon bonus damage and 2 meter per second move speed. So I'll put this on and just kind of run around. You can see how much faster Infernus moves when he has the Fortitude. So if you play Infernus, he does not have the best movement speed. So if you get Fortitude, that just helps a ton with making all your rotations. Helps it just make sure you're at the fight when you're supposed to be. You're going to be over 75% health a lot of in the fights just because you have so much lifesteal. It's very hard to kill Infernus. It's hard to bring his health total down. And you're not building any kind of stamina with this build. So it's really helpful to be able to move as fast as you can. So I like to build Fortitude. You could also potentially build Fleetfoot or Heroic Aura if you prefer those items. But I like Fortitude because I like to get that big movement bonus that's just almost always on, so I don't have to activate it. And you get an absolute ton of hit points with this. And then the next one here is my other secret sauce item. And that's Escalating Resilience. I recommend this instead of Improved Bullet Armor. And the reason for that is you get the 12% fire rate. So between this and Swift Striker, that's going to put you at almost 35% fire rate. It gives you 28% bullet damage, and then it's going to give you 40% bullet resist whenever you get it fully stacked up. So I'm going to go ahead and buy this, and I'll just get rid of extra regen here. And I'll show you how it works on the dummy. So if I just drain a clip into the dummy, you can see my bullet resistance goes up to 35%. And that's because I have the -5 from Swift Striker, so that's why it's not at the full 40. But you can see how fast you can get this stacked up between having this and Swift Striker. You can just get that bullet resist stacked up very fast, and it's going to last for 20 full seconds. So anytime you're in a team fight, you're almost assuredly going to have this up. And this is just like a cheat code to get a lot more damage while still getting the bullet resist instead of just buying improved bullet armor, which just gives you a flat 50%. Okay, and then the last one there is improved spirit armor. You guys know how that works, so I won't go over that too much. Now we'll get into the luxury items. So these are late game luxury items. This is where you want to start selling monster rounds, regen, ammo scavenger, enduring spirit. So this is once you get past an improved spirit armor, this is your full core. So we are fully built out. We could do any kind of fight, any late game fight, we're going to be just fine. But if you get past, like 30 minutes, The game's going on really long. You're going to have more souls, and you got to put them somewhere. So the first one I like to buy here is Ricochet. I hesitate to call this a core item, but I think this is the best luxury item you can build on Infernus because it synergizes so well with this kit. So you get a ton more ammo, you get more fire rate, and it's going to make your bullets ricochet to additional targets. So I'll buy this, I'll get rid of monster rounds, and then I'm just going to go ahead and I got my 3 Stooges over here. If I just, let me reload real quick, and if I dump on them, you'll see that's going to apply my afterburn, and it's going to apply my toxic bullets to all of them at the same time. Okay, so the next one I like to buy after that is Inhibitor, and like I said, this is up to you. You don't have to buy these items. You can buy any of these that you like, but I like to go with Inhibitor, and typically this will be the last one I buy. The game's not going to go long enough for me to get more than 3 6,200 soul items, but Inhibitor is going to do a bunch more weapon damage. It's going to reduce their movement speed by 25% more, and then it applies a 35% damage penalty. And that's a very unique stat that you can't get anywhere else. So with Ricochet, if you buy Inhibitor, we'll buy Inhibitor, and I'm just going to go ahead and we'll say we'll get rid of Ammo Scavenger at this point. All right, so between my Catalyst, my Mystic Slow, and my Inhibitor, so that's going to apply so much movement slow. I'll hit him with the Catalyst. I'm going to pump up the dots on him. Look how slow he's going. So I'll do it one more time. You can see he can just barely move. And not only is he moving slow, he's also minus 40% fire rate, and he's minus 35% damage. So if you're in a team fight, say if you have a Dynamo on your team that ults everybody and you're able to shoot into like a big group, or maybe Lash, you know, like gets a big ultimate off and gets everybody grouped up, and you just jump into them and shoot with your Ricochet and your Inhibitor, that's going to debuff their whole team so badly that there is no way they can win that team fight. Nobody's going to do any damage. Nobody's barely going to be able to move. This is just going to be an absolute, you know, team fight winner once you get an Inhibitor. At this point, you're just an absolute Dot God at this point. That's the name of the build. Okay, so the other items, these are nice to haves. You could build these if you like. It just depends how the game is going. Like if you're just memeing on somebody and you guys are winning really bad, then you can go for some of these other items instead of going for the Ricochet or the Inhibitor. You could go for Spiritual Overflow. This is just an absolute ton of damage. So it gives you 35% fire rate and 50 spirit power whenever you charge it up. And then it's also going to give Spirit Lifesteal and cooldown reduction. So you can just ult all the time with this one, and you just get an absolute ton of damage. You also got Crippling Headshot. This one is really good. If the game's going long and it's actually kind of even, and you're playing against some big tanks, so if you got like Mo and Krill or Abrams or Shiv in your game or something like that, you can go for the Crippling Headshot because the minus 24 bullet and spirit resist is going to help you actually kill those big tanks. This is a super good item in those long games. And you also got Diviner's Kevlar. So this one is really good as well. It's kind of like sneaky OP on Infernus here because you get massive lifesteal, you get cooldown reduction, and then you get a big spirit power bump every time you cast your ult, and then 2 really huge shields that last for 15 full seconds. So when you go in with your combustion, if you have Diviner's Kevlar, it makes it a lot easier to get in. I like to build this one like if I'm in a game where I don't really have a lot of crowd control on my team. You know, if I'm playing with a lot of heroes that are like backliners, then maybe I can build a Diviner's Kevlar because they're going to be more reliant on me to get in there with my combustion and actually stun some people. So, and you know that if you're playing Furnace, you know that when you go in with your combustion, get in the middle of the group, it's easy to get, you know, CC'd yourself and just get absolutely nuked. So I like to go for the Diviner's Kevlar there. It helps with that. And the last item is, this is kind of memey, but I like Soul Rebirth here. This one, if the game goes super long, if you're in one of those hour-long, you know, just crazy games, you say you're on with a couple of buddies, you can kind of talk to everybody, say, hey, look, let's all buy Soul Rebirth at the same time. And what this is going to do is it's going to guarantee that you win the next team fight. You know, if you get 3 or 4 people to buy Soul Rebirth all at once, whenever you get in the next team fight, you will 100% win that fight. So if you can like force a fight at the mid boss or something, get Soul Rebirth, everybody comes back to life, you take the mid boss, you win the game. And you'll see a lot of teams will do a little kind of cheeky stuff like that as they try to get everybody to buy Soul Rebirth all at the same time and ensure that they win the next team fight. Okay, so that's it for like all the all the luxury items. So now we'll look at some of the situational items, and I'm not going to go through these too much. I'm just going to kind of shout them out. I have another video that I'll link in the description if you guys want to watch and see a little more of a deep dive into these situational items. But we've got Slowing Hex, Silence Glyph, Knockdown, Reactive Barrier, Divine Barrier, Debuff Reducer and Remover, and Return Fire and Metal Skin. I think these are the best situational items that you probably will want to build on Infernus, and you're more likely to build these than you are these late game luxury items. So let's say I don't get to one of these super late game, I'm not buying Ricochet, I'm not buying Inhibitor, I don't get to that point in the game, but maybe I want to buy some of these because I'm playing against a Fed Vindicta, I'm going to buy Knockdown. Maybe I'm playing against, a Haze that's just giving everybody a ton of trouble. I can buy Metal Skin. So you're more likely to buy a couple of these, especially the cheaper ones. So the Slowing Hex, the Reactive Barrier, Divine Barrier, and Return Fire. If you buy these in lane, these are absolute lane winners. I really cannot stress how powerful some of these cheap items are when you buy them in lane, especially stuff like the Reactive Barrier and Divine Barrier. Just helps you not lose. If somebody hits you with a Warden Cage, or if Haze gets you with a Sleep Dart or something like that, or 7 hits you with his stun, this Reactive Barrier is going to save your life. And you can see you get an absolute ton of ammo on this one too. So Reactive Barrier, this is one of my favorite items to build early in the game. Divine Barrier, good. This one's good if you're in a game with, if you're in a 2 lane and you want to be able to use it on the other person in your lane as well. Return Fire also just super powerful early on. If you get in a one-on-one fight with somebody, Return Fire is going to flip that game. You're almost assuredly going to win that one-on-one fight if you're able to pop this one. Nobody's going to expect it. And by the time they, drain their clip on you, they'll have taken 60% of that damage back on top of you shooting them. So that's it for the situational items. And now we'll get into some actual gameplay of the build. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe.